Okay, ready to go. Welcome to the Red Bull Ring for the 5th and 6th races in the 2017 ADAC GT Masters. Beautiful conditions here on this Saturday afternoon, but heavy rain from about 4 o'clock this morning until around 8 o'clock. It left the track very wet this morning. It's been drying out all day. And in the last 20 minutes, the track temperature has actually risen by a mere 15 degrees. It was a real spike. It's now come back down as a little bit of wind is coming in. But basically, it's a beautiful day here in Austria, 25 degrees centigrade. Track temperature now, having been up to 49 degrees, back down to 39. There's a few clouds just starting to come over as the last of the grid girls weave their way off the grid. It was absolutely packed, wonderful pit walk before, 29 cars looking absolutely resplendent down there on the grid. But look out for number 63. It'd been 4th fastest in second practice yesterday in beautiful sunny conditions, but in the wet this morning went off and will be starting 29th and last. It'll be the car beyond that KFZ Tyler banner on the over the start-finish line, but up front, first ever pole for Jules Gounon, son of Jean-Marc, sharing with Daniel Kalvitz. They're equal second in the championship at the moment in their Callaway competition Corvette, but Kalvitz has a great history here, having won the ADAC GT Masters races. I say plural because he won the first and second races in 2013 and repeated the feat in 2014 with Oliver Gavin, always in a Callaway competition Corvette. So he really knows how to make this circuit sing to his tune. Chance to look at the cars as we walk down. They're formed in echelon formation. The pit garage is in the background, and the last of the camera crews just starting to peel their way off the grid. An incredible mixture of cars, 29 in all. Up front, it's Corvette, Mercedes, Porsche, a second Corvette, BMW, Mercedes, and the best of the Lamborghinis down in 9th place, which is quite surprising considering their form across Europe and, in fact, round the world this year. And there is the one starting 9th. That's number 19. Sorry, that's the one starting a little bit. That's 13th. That's Ezekiel Perez Companc and Mirko Bortolotti, the man who can in Lamborghinis. They're down almost mid-grid, but that was the greasy conditions this morning that caught a few out. Qualifying was over before a lot of the drivers really got to grips with the circuit that was changing by the lap. But just to reiterate, as we go down towards the tail end of the grid, there was number 8, that's down towards the back, and that was Michaela Arlin Kotulinski. Waving to the cameras. There's the twin bush, the yellow and blue Audi, looks fantastic, twin bush motorsport. And the final handful of cars, number 9 towards the end, that would be Ilya Earhart standing alongside one of the 2 cars from the Audi Sport Racing Academy. And there is that number 63 Lamborghini, 29th and at last. It will start in the hands of Rolf-Jan Eichen. You can see Christian Engelhardt, a man who certainly knows his way around the Red Bull Ring, offering a few last moment words of encouragement. Of course, the races in the ADAC GT Masters Championship, 1 hour long. Today starts at 1:15 and so will tomorrow's. There will be the driver change around mid-distance. It's going to be fast, it's going to be furious, but the track conditions absolutely perfect. The crowds have been pouring in all through the morning, and an absolutely packed agenda because there are races too for the ADAC TCR Germany Series, the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland Championship, the GT4 European Series Northern Cup, ADAC's Formula 4 Championship, and the Trofeo Abarth Europe. And then we do it all over again tomorrow. So wonderful weekend of racing here at the Red Bull Ring, the middle of June, the weekend before the Le Mans 24 hours. This is not the calm before the storm, though, because the racing is going to be wall to wall. At the moment, it's the Corvette from Callaway on pole by a mere 0.200 of a second from Sebastian Ash, and more to the point, Lucas Auer having his first outing in the ADAC GT Masters Championship and has taken it to it like a duck to water. Obviously, an Austrian driver, one of 6 in this race, but he's leading the DTM Championship this year and looking very strong indeed. He comes across here, hops into the Muka Motorsport Mercedes, and has either been first or second in every session he's been out on the circuit. So he has really taken to it. His car will be the second one in the line, the pink Mercedes there, then a car that just seems to be winning race after race. The Precott Herbeth Motorsport Porsche, Robert Renauer, sharing in the GT Masters Championship with Sven Muller, third fastest. So for Robert Renauer, it's just been a fantastic 12 months of racing. And the wins keep on coming. And talking of wins, we've had 4 races this year, 4 wins. The opening race at Oschersleben, won by the Team 75 Bernhard Porsche of Michael Muller with Mathieu Jaminet. The second race that day went the way of the Schnitzer BMW team with Ricky Collard stepping across from the British Touring Car Championship and Austrian racer Philipp Eng. The championship then moved on to Lausitzring, and Renauer and Muller took the opening race there in their Herbeth Porsche, and then Bortolotti and Peres Kompank won the second. So plenty of variety, and who will win this afternoon? And certainly Gunon and Kalvitz looking very good indeed. But the points leaders, Renauer and Muller, starting third. The other team, equal on points in second place, are down in 13th, giving others a chance to take a tilt. And certainly Lucas Auer really must fancy his chances. And just to run through the Austrian drivers on the grid, Lucas Auer, we've mentioned him. Klaus Bachler from literally 20 kilometres down the road, live in Unzmark. He is way down the grid from his standards in the Schutz Motorsport entry. Philipp Eng, we mentioned him. Christopher Höhr, racing for the Audi Sport Racing Academy. And Norbert Siedler, the veteran in the pack with the HB Racing Lamborghini. And finally, the 6th and last, Michael Fischer, who's driving Senkier's BMW, will be starting down in 27th place. So plenty of home interest. And the best place on the grid, Lucas Auer, who will be starting from the outside of the front row. Track temperature has dipped down a bit, 24 degrees, but the track temperature, as the clouds burn off, has just gone up another 6 degrees, 45 degrees. So it's a 1-hour race. We'll have to see how people treat their tyres. Will they be kind? But around this 4.236 kilometre, wonderful onboard camera footage there. 9 corners, but almost never a stretch of track, apart from the start-finish straight, or some of it, that is on the level. The track, of course, here at the Red Bull Ring, up and down the side of the hill, and never looks better than it does now. Ooh, so we've got a rearward-facing camera. We'll have to look out for that one. Work out which cars are carrying the cameras, and that should be on the Robert Renauer Porsche. So there's a running down the grid, looking for the Austrian drivers. Now 13th place, that's Ezekiel Peres Kompank, who will be starting way out of position. One young driver starting 19th, Dennis Marshall. He has just been picked as one of the BMW junior drivers, so that's a big accolade for him. But all attention from his point of view on the race ahead. Two by two, the cars work their way around towards the conclusion of this formation lap, just turning there to the right in Rindt curve. The track then drops down to the final corner, the Red Bull Mobile curve, and then the safety car peels its way off into pit entry. Of course, they've just got to go down through that final corner. The slope doesn't look as steep as it really is, the drop from the penultimate to final corner, but then there's this dip, compression on the inside of the circuit. You want to really be more on the outside. So will it be the Callaway Corvette or the Muka Motorsport Mercedes that leads up the hill into the first corner? What was the Hellerlich corner, but of course it's now the OMV curver, and a roar of thunder and a fantastic start from the Corvette at the front of the field. Jules Gounod, young French second generation racer, he's fine at the front, but the Precott Porsche goes around the outside into second place. But we've seen that so many times here at the Red Bull Ring. If you take the outside line, you can end up on the dirt, and one of the Zach Speed Mercedes in a bit of trouble at the back, losing ground, but it's a real serious challenge by Robert Renauer. He fancies the lead, but he's on the outside line as they go through the kink and up to the Ramus curve for the first time. And being on the outside line, he's been pushed wide. So back into second place goes Lucas Auer, but Jules Gounod, he is the driver at the front in the Callaway Corvette. Two abreast in that battle for second place as they run along the top of the hill and down to Rauch curve. Of course, the track not very straight across the top of the hill, constantly curving, giving some behind a chance to make a move. The second Corvette trying to move up inside Robert Renauer, but failing on the entrance to Rauch curve. Behaviour all been very good so far. And for Jules Gounod, that was a very, very tidy start. Plenty of close battling down around the midfield, and I'm just looking for the progress of that number 63 Lamborghini from the back of the grid. I think he's already picked off 2 or 3 or 4 places. There you can see it at the back of the pack. Oh, very, very deep into the chicane there for Lucas Auer in the second place. Oh, what a big twitch from the orange and black. That's another car from Muka Motorsport. That's Philippe Salicada sharing with Marcus Winkelhock, and that was a really big twitch from them down around mid-order. So on to the start-finish straight at the end of this opening lap. And it's Jules Gounon from Lucas Auer from Robert Renauer. Grid positions lead to end of lap 1 positions, and that 5th place BMW with Ricky Collard trying to hang on to that lead group. As I'd say, the first 5 cars just trying to get a little bit of space between them and the chasing pack. But Gounon seems to have it all under control at the moment. Car number 21 going well with Lucas Stoltz. That's the better placed of the Zack Speed Mercedes. Nice and tidy over the top of the hill. Wonderful rearward facing shot. Looking back at Mathieu Jaminet in the Team 75 Bernhard Porsche. So that was a rearward shot from the Zack Speed Mercedes. You can see the Zack Speed car just turning there ahead of the Porsche into a Rauch curve, trying to hug. Oh, we have a spinner. Just trying to see. It's one of the Muka cars. Number 15. So that's very unfortunate indeed. So they went around early on. That's Mike David Ortman. So number 26 in 15th place. So let's have a look. Did he jump or was he pushed? He's on the outside line. I think we can call that an assist because we've got a pit visitor who's come in and hit his pit board. It's one of the Audi Sport Academy R8s. Can't see if it's got a puncture of the gantry between my commentary position and where they're sitting. So I think we can see where the blame lies with number 26 being pushed into a spin. That had started around mid-grid and very frustrating. There is that car, that's the pit visitor, number 8. That was started by Ricardo Feller, Swiss racer, sharing with the driver we saw down on the grid, Michaela Arlin Kotulinski. Meanwhile, back on the track, wonderful backdrop as Jules Gounon leads away. Lucas Auer doing all he can now. There's a bit of a gap, and we've had that change. Second place has now been taken by the number 13 with Sven Barth going past Robert Renauer. So it's looking good for the Corvettes at the moment. They're running first and third. Again, that rearward shot looking at Ricky Collard. Now he in turn is getting closer and closer to Robert Renauer, so it's not been a good lap and a bit for the Porsche racer in the Preckert Herbeth Motorsport Porsche. Certainly that BMW M6 from Team Schnitzer right on his tail as they go through Rauch, and running wide and kicking up the dirt was Robert Renauer on the exit of the corner. Just look at that battle. Certainly the BMW M6 is starting to hunt side by side a little bit further back. And the very distinctive yellow and green HTP Motorsport Mercedes Indy Doncher sharing with Marvin Kirchhofer. It stands out whether it's day or night. Wonderful racing livery. Just looking, the number 63 Lamborghini has yet to break into the top 20. It was the one starting at the back of the grid in the hands of Rolf Eichen, the driver who, fittingly, was the one who put it into the barriers this morning. Again, using the rearward camera, looking at the second. Well, that was where we lost the place. That was the answer. That was why the Robert Renauer lost the position. And the following lap, he also kicked up the dirt on the exit of Rauch. So Renauer be frustrated with that. And now he's got Ricky Collard pushing him very hard. But Sven Barth didn't even any second invitation in the second of the Corvettes. Not the one you see there. That's Jules Gounon leading the race. Then Lucas Auer. And then the darker blue-nosed Corvette in third place was Sven Barth. And in fact, Robert Renauer is now closing back on him. And the driver you're looking at from the back of Renauer's car is Ricky Collard Jr., third generation. His father races in the British Touring Car Championship, and his grandfather, who just died, was a many-time British stock car champion, Duffy Collard. So these cars very much in their elements around the Red Bull Ring. Still a lot of drivers just running that little bit wide, kicking up the dirt as they go halfway around the corner, and then a lock up there, going and getting it rather sideways. Robert Renauer's made a big mistake there into the Pirelli curve. Can Collard pounce? Not quite, but what is Renauer doing to his tyres? He's been getting out of shape several times, and I think maybe he pushed them incredibly hard on that opening lap when he got as high as second place, fell back to third, is now back in fourth. But for how much longer? Philippe Eng will be delighted to see his teammate Ricky Collard Jr. pushing so hard, and there is that Schnitzer M6 right on the tail, really applying the pressure to Robert Renauer. Coming up past the start-finish line there. Fastest first pass of that lap was the fastest of all for Robert Renauer, but he's now 2.7 seconds behind the race leader. It's still Jules Gounon leading the way. So Daniel Kalvitz will be licking his lips with glee. You can see the weather conditions fantastic here. Just high cloud above the Red Bull Ring. Driver running in 6th place, car number 21, Lucas Stoltz, just doesn't seem to be able to profit from this really intense battle between Robert Renauer in the Precoat Porsche and Ricky Collard Jr. You'd have to say that each of them are probably slightly delaying another. Got another pit visitor, unfortunately. The Attempto Lamborghini has come into the pit lane. That's Jonathan Dudek, who started from penultimate position. But the car that started from final position, Rolfin Eichen, has now risen 10 places to 19th. So expected progress, and progress still continues. So the only incident, oh dear, now limping in the MRS GT Remo Lips entry. That Skyline clearly got something untoward. Oh, Robert Renauer getting looser and looser. Others are staying on the track, but it's clearly proving a very difficult task indeed for Renauer, and now it looks like the move is completed. There it goes, nicely done by Ricky Collard, because in the last couple of laps he's really put the pressure, and Renauer has been starting to crack. We've seen him sliding that 99 Porsche, running wide, but around the back part of the circuit, just behind the paddock, just having gone through the Voestalpine right-hander, the kink. That was the moment that there was the pounce. Go to the outside. Paddock's off down the hill to the left-hand side, and by the time they got to the Rint curve, the move was done. Up the inside goes the BMW with Ricky Collard Jr. And Renauer realised that his time was up in 4th place and did not close the door, which was greatly appreciated by all around. Now a replay of the MRS GT Skyline. Well, indeed, that's why it was slowing down, because you need all your tyres on the car. So unlucky indeed to see the Nissan hitting that problem for Remo Lips, the Swiss racer. So the Nissan will limp its way back after shedding a tyre. Now Gounon will be handing over to Kalvitz. The lead last time around, 0.677 of a second. So certainly Lucas Auer keeping him honest. That 22 Nissan has made it back to the pits on 3 complete wheels. And the pit crew run out, and they're just going to change that front right corner. Not looking to change anything else, so the MRS GT Skyline should be back into the racing very soon indeed. You can just see there was absolutely no rubber left on that wheel rim as they removed it from the car. So for Lips, very frustrating indeed. Great racing back down through the pack, and as we've seen, you just need one little slip from the driver ahead and you can benefit, and certainly that's how Ricky Collard got up into 4th place overall. Now let's have a look. 3 abreast on the start-finish straight with the now I understand completely. That was 63 making up ground from the back of the field, being given a really sharp nudge from number 24, which is Philippe Salicada and Audi, and no place at all to go on the outside of the circuit for Remo Lips, and that led to that deflation of that front right tyre. You can see it's possibly even gone down already at that point, and then it was a long lap for Lips to get the car back to the pits without suffering too much damage, and then eventually towards the end of the lap, as he made it back to the pits, the tyre did not complete the journey. Front left tyre carcass rolling off on its own through the gravel. And there is that battling group with Rolfin Eichen in the green Lamborghini trying to make up ground, try and gain more places. He's got Philippe Salicada in the orange-black Audi ahead of him, and ahead of them, number 6, the HB Racing Christopher Zanella-driven Lamborghini. Great little battle, but you certainly feel that Eichen, on this year's form, ought to have the speed to get past this duo, but catching them is one thing, passing quite another. Still plenty of time on the clock, almost 50 minutes of this 1-hour race remaining. Of course, we have the driver changes coming up. Onto another lap. I can hear the rumble past my commentary position, the particular engine note of not one Corvette, but 2 Corvettes running 1st and 3rd, and Lucas Auer in 2nd. And I thought the car was going off. It was merely the camera swinging around to look at Lucas in that Muka Motorsport Mercedes. And certainly he has landed from the DTM, where he is the championship leader, and is just putting on a fantastic display, as it has been in the DTM. 2 wins from 4 starts. Up he goes into Remus Curve. This has been agonising for him. He's been this close, which is just under a second down on Jules Gounon. Fighting down in the pack. And is that a place change? blink and you miss it. No, they stayed in the order they were. So Ricardo Fella still handy, still hanging on. Trying to go two abreast doesn't always work, it must be said. So the black and pink Lamborghini goes through Rauch curve without being passed, but you can start shaping up as you come running down through the hill, through the long Pirelli curve. We saw at this corner earlier in the race, Robert Renauer, who'd been running at the front end, he's now slipped back to 5th place, almost putting it off in the gravel as the car just about broke away from him. Car 48, Indy Dontje, he's in 10th place. Just in front of him is Mathieu Jaminet. Don't forget, he won the opening race this year, sharing with Michael Ammermuller in the Bernhard Porsche, and one position ahead of them in 8th place overall. Norbert Siedler in that HB Racing Lamborghini, the black and pink entry. He'll hand over to Marco Mappelli, a driver who certainly knows his Lamborghinis as well, so it could be a good day for them. But certainly the best day looks to be going the way, at this very early stage, of Jules Gounon, who's not put a foot wrong. He had a brilliant start from pole position and simply wasn't challenged in the first corner. Has always stayed just about a second ahead of the rest as they've been doing battle. Right now, Lucas Auer in 2nd place. In fact, he just set his fastest lap of the race. He shaved a 10th off the lead advantage from Jules Gounon. But the real battling is down at this tail end of the top 10. And we've just had a place change. And number 2 has just lost a little bit of ground in that battle. That was Jeffrey Schmidt in one of the 2 Land Motorsport Audis. He has lost position. So Norbert Siedler keeps on rising up into 7th place. And you sense that Schmidt is now going to come under immediate pressure. And so he does, because Mathieu Jaminet in the Porsche is tucked under the Audi's rear wing as they go out of Rauch. Riding, looking forward from 10th place, which is Indy Dontje's HTP Motorsport Mercedes through the left-hander. Try not to use too much curb. It can really throw the cars towards the outside of the circuit as they go through the Pirelli curve. And I said that we'd see Jaminet making an attack as soon as he could, and he certainly has, because it's another place loss for Jeffrey Schmidt, and he's about to lose a further one as up around the outside comes Indy Dontje. So suddenly, I said the good racing is at the tail of the top 10, and it's certainly proving to be that very thing. 2 cars, well, we've got a pit visitor there at the head of that grouping, so maybe it was a problem for the Land Motorsport entry for Jeffrey Schmidt. Maybe he's got a slow puncture, just looking to see him come into the pit lane. Number on his screen is his position in the race, and that keeps on scrolling through. Unfortunately for him, as he's come to a halt in front of his garage, there must be a puncture. They're working on the left rear tyre. Well, you have to raise a glass to the Land Motorsport crew. That was an incredibly quick tyre change. So frustrating to fall out of the top 10, have a left rear puncture, but it was... well, he started losing position part-way around the lap, and I think it must have been a slow puncture rather than the very rapid one that Remo Lips had after the contact when the 63 Lamborghini clipped his Nissan. So unfortunate indeed, and therefore tumbling down the table was Jeffrey Schmidt. Here is a replay of that stop, and by the time it was stationary, the number that said 07 on his screen at the start of the lap, reading 17, and I think it will effectively read about 27 by the time he comes around onto the circuit again, because I think we've had 2 retirements, one of the Audi Sport Racing Academy cars sitting in the pit garage, and I didn't see if the Attempto Racing Lamborghini went back out again, but 27th or 28th, but no disputing who's leading, Jules Gounon. But this midfield battle gets tighter and tighter and tighter, absolutely fantastic. With a couple of the Ost Motorsport Audis in the background as well. You can see them black with those red stripes atop their wings. And the black and green Jacco Racing, Philip Geipel, Rahel Frey car, Geipel at the wheel at the moment, so loads of Audi down towards the tail end of the top 20. But it's Corvettes first and third, with that Muka Motorsport Mercedes in the middle of the battle. Getting up close at the first corner is one thing, but going out wide can cost you position. So drivers being fairly cautious at this stage. 1/4 distance of this 1-hour race. Another one tomorrow, starting at the same time, 1:15 local time here at the Red Bull Ring. Now, this is the view that Lucas Auer has from the wheel of his AMG, his Mercedes AMG, down into Rauch Curve, and that has pretty much been the view. In fact, it's gone out. He's about 0.1 of a second further back. 0.859 of a second between first and second. Last time around, and looks as though it's just settled down between the 2. And don't forget, of course, for Lucas Auer, he tested the car, came here, did some practice, but Gounon has the experience of this car over last year and this, so he's more accustomed to how the tyres behave through the course of the race. But course, these 1 hour sprints, but sprint with the driver change, of course. So over the little rise they go, out of the first Alpine corner into the Rindt curve and then down the drop, and all you see is that enormous red and white Austrian flash on the outside of the circuit at the final corner, the Red Bull Mobile curve, and onto the start-finish straight. But best of all, apart from the fact the racing is brilliant, is the fact the weather is fabulous here. But very early this morning it rained, and rained very heavily for 3 hours, so fingers crossed. But the weather forecast for tomorrow, for Sunday's race, is that the weather will be very good indeed as well. Better even than today, so I'm sure many more thousands of fans will be coming through the gates tomorrow morning. Jules Gounon leading the way, 0.824 of a second. So it bops up and down, but the real nose-to-tail action is just outside from 10th place down. Oh dear, we've got a car limping up the start-finish straight. Yellow and black Lamborghini. Can't see if it's just pulled to a halt. It's not quite got towards pit exit, but of course the start-finish straight here slopes up a hill. It may not be able to limp its way up the slope. We'll have to wait and see, but that's a car out of the running, unfortunately. And that's one of the 2 HB Racing Lamborghinis, Christopher Zanella at the wheel of that one. So while Norbert Siedler goes well, there's Zanella's car. So the number 7 Lamborghini is still going well, the number 6 stationary on the start-finish straight. Is there a particular reason? Well, okay, so it had a spin in the final corner. Did he knock something at this point? Because it doesn't look as though... Oh gosh, that 63 Lamborghini on his ascent through the order has had a couple of bits of contact. I don't know if there was contact there, but we've certainly seen him hit the Nissan. But clearly something went bang on the start-finish straight. So for Christopher Zanella, he might be better placed. Just he's found a gap in the pit wall to climb through. So looking at the order, we can see it's Jules Gounon still leading the way from Lucas Auer, from Sven Barth, from Ricky Collard, and another car going slowly on the start-finish straight. We have a safety car out, safety car board. Sorry, I was just checking the timing screen. Sometimes you go by sound in the commentary box, and we suddenly had cars slowing on the start-finish straight. So, not surprising really, with that Lamborghini stricken literally just past the start-finish line, just as the slope goes up. So Philippe Eng sitting in the pit garage for Team Schnitzer will be pleased with the progress of his teammate Ricky Collard Jr. Okay, he's only gained 1 position, but looking very comfortable indeed. Running 4 seconds he was at racing speed down on our race leader Jules Gounon, but of course they will get much closer now as the safety car leads the field around the top. So let's just run down the order. We still have just under 20 minutes this race, so 40 minutes remaining in this race. Jules Gounon leading from Lucas Auer. Sven Barth in the second of the Corvettes, in third place. Ricky Collard in fourth in the better placed of the BMWs. Robert Renauer, who featured and tried to get up into second place, ran there briefly, is down in fifth in the Preckert Herbert Porsche. And number 21 is running in sixth place overall, which is Lucas Stoltz in the better of the 2 Zach Speed Mercedes. Then Norbert Siedler, the remaining HB Racing Lamborghini, is seventh. Mathieu Jaminet, he's been in that battle as well all along. 8th place for the number 17 crew from KUS Team 75 Bernhardt, and the top 10 completed by Indy Donche. And car number 1, we have Connor De Filippi, American racer who took victory in the 24 hours at the Nürburgring just a few weeks ago. But there is the face of a driver more normally out in action in the DTM, leading the championship with 2 wins from the 4 races. So for the rest of the crews, they're just getting their heads into gear. They will be going out around the half-hour mark in the race. And for the drivers out on the track, the frustration of having to run behind the safety car. The good news is that pack of cars, as they go past the start-finish line, will see the yellow and black Lamborghini being pulled up the hill towards the first corner, where hopefully they'll be able to put it in just off the circuit, out of the way at pit exit. In fact, there's a flatbed truck already up at that position. You can just see it, the yellow and black one, waiting hopefully to take that car away. But there is the pit exit, and there up the hill is Christopher Zanella's Lamborghini being pulled, and all the drivers have seen it. They've seen it stationary, they've seen it being cleared in the way. The last car in the field has just run past it and turned through the first corner. So the marshal's doing a great job putting the messages across to all of the drivers as they keep the heat in their tyres. No difficulty at all in doing that, with track temperature of 46 degrees. Air temperature 27, so that's continued to edge its way up this afternoon. It turned into a good morning, but just around lunchtime it started to go up and up and up as the drivers, the cars were out assembling on the grid. For Lucas Auer, a whole new experience. Great for him to be racing back on his home patch, but to be doing so in a championship that he says, I've been watching with increasing interest through this year, so he jumped at the chance to join Sebastian Asch this weekend. Sebastian has shared this season so far the first 4 races with Stefan Muka and have collected, their results have been a 6th and 11th. That was at Oschersleben, then an 8th and a 12th place finish at the Lausitz Ring, but certainly the team and the driver finding form together was Lucas Auer coming across, and he's certainly giving the home fans something to shout about. He's been close all race to Jules Gounon, but unable to do anything about him at all. Gounon seems to have this under control, and don't forget, Gounon will be handing over to a driver who's won ADAC GT Masters rounds not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times here at the Red Bull Ring. 2013 he shared with Diego Alessi. 2014, a driver who certainly knows his Corvettes, Oliver Gavin, a driver who's won the class for Corvette racing many a time. And the safety car is withdrawn, and it's time to go racing again. So through the penultimate corner, through the Rindt curve, down to the final corner they go. And Auer is nobody's fool. He's got himself nice and close to the race leader, Gounon. Gounon seemed to have the jump. And likewise, the battle for third is very intense. It's Corvette ahead of Mercedes, Corvette ahead of BMW. In the background, you can see the BMW of Collard looking to one side and then to another, but can't depose Sven Barth from third place. But Gounon, as he did at the start of the race, is doing so all over again. You can see the wave green flags letting them know the incident is clear, but they seem to be coming off the power just a little bit as they go up the slope. No, it's all fine. And here comes a move, but not third challenging fourth, it's fifth challenging fourth. Going around the outside, getting off the circuit in doing so was Robert Renauer. He tried to take his moment, but his line was too tight into the corner and he had to run wide. So while Collard was trying to get that BMW up ahead of the Corvette of Sven Barth, he suddenly had to defend from an attack behind. And now the Zach Speed Mercedes is coming into that battle as well. Car number 21 really getting in the mix with Lucas Stoltz. So Renauer is such a tiger when it comes to restarts. There he is pushing. That was a corner where he made a mistake earlier in the race. He managed to hold it. This time he's held it as well. But it looks as though now Collard has settled down again into fourth place. And will have to focus his aim as he goes through the Voestalpine curve to get on to the tail of that Corvette once again. But Renauer, given half a chance, he goes for it and really gets into the battle. You can see Stoltz tucked in behind, and then Seidler, the second of the Austrian drivers, running in 7th place. Looks as though we've got the Geipel car making a move. That's the black and green Audi. Oh, bucking Bronco ride down towards the tail, out of the Rindt curve there for the second of the black and red Audis from Ost Motorsport. Looks another position about to be gained by the 63 Lamborghini, but he's lost a little bit of ground in that battling. Yet again, he's got in close before with Philip Salicada. They do so all over again, as if magnetically attracted to each other. Oh dear, the number 20 Zach Speed entry. That was Nikolai Sylvestre. That was the less well placed of theirs, but a puncture from him. That looks as though it's a puncture from contact. Deary me. So positions lost for the number 20 crew. They started towards the end of the field in the hands of Danish racer Nikolai Sylvestre, but for his teammate Nikolai Roggeview, it will be a delayed car when he comes to take it over. In fact, will it make it back to the field? We saw that 22 Nissan lose it. Well, those are just body parts. That's the inside of the wheel rim. Well, there's the wheel rim, but the inside of the wheel arch. And now we can see grinding its way down the circuit. May not make its way back to the pit lane. So there is Nikolai Roggeview looking to see what he will have to take over. Maybe not quite as pretty as the car that went out to start the race. So the field going round, still being led by Jules Gounon. And just looking at messages on our screen, black and white flagged car number 77. That is, it's our race leader. More than one change of direction in defending his position. And also an incident between car number 6 and car number 63 under investigation. And now the first pit visitors come in. And certainly Ricky Collard Jr. is one of their ranks. Of course, the one we're looking at now was already in, having that puncture change. There was the car that was running fourth. Philippe Eng very quick to get into position, shoved into the car as gently as possible, but as speedily as possible by Ricky Collard Jr. But of course, BMW Team Schnitzer, if a team anywhere in the world knows its pit lane procedure, it's the team that's been such a mighty... So now let's have a look. This is weaving around, that's fine. Replay. Was that counting as a change of position that blocked the car behind? I wouldn't have said it did, but out over the curbs they go. So Lucas Auer remains in second position, but the black and white flag, the warning flag, do that one more time and you're in trouble, my friend, has been given to the race leader, to Jules Gounon. Car number 20 still trying to repair the damage. There's the twin Busch entry in the pit lane. Mark Busch will be handing over to Dennis. Of course, these pit stops don't have to be done in the greatest of hurry. Looks fantastic, the opalescent, shiny sides of the car in the afternoon sunshine here at the Red Bull Ring. So that pit window will be open for another 8 minutes. Leading the way is still Jules Gounon at the front of the field. Thunders past one more time. The top three really running almost nose to tail. Just 1.1 seconds between first and third, between the leading Corvette, Lucas Auer in between, in the Muka Motorsport Mercedes, and then in third position, Sven Barth in the second of the Corvettes. 1.1 seconds, wonderful size is Lucas Auer. He's just seen so much of the back of this Corvette, always sitting about that distance, about 3/4 of a second ahead of him. Up into the Remus curve they go now, they go down through the gently twisting upper part of the circuit. And tucked in behind Sven Barth. Not been able to get close enough to challenge, but seems to be getting that little bit closer after this restart. In fact, he is closer to the Mercedes than the Mercedes is to the race leader. And finally, the 20 Mercedes from Zach Speed works its way out of the pit lane. Long delay there while that repair was being made. Bodywork damage, of course, with that flailing, punctured rear tyre. Looking backwards there from Muka's car. Sorry, from the Muka car with Lucas Auer at the wheel. Fairly much stalemate between first and third positions. Looking at the third place Sven Barth Corvette from RWT Racing. Getting closer and closer, but their time will come to an end. They may be looking to run right towards the end of the pit window before they dive in, but none of them gaining, none of them losing this first, second and third place battle. But as you can see, they're about to come up to that thing called traffic, and it's Dennis Busch they will come across to start with. Looking at a replay. Oh, that really was quite a twitch from Lucas Auer. That will go on the highlights tape. You can be sure of that. Getting the tail out on the Muka Motorsport Mercedes, and importantly, out of Rint curve, pulling it back in again. Number 9, Audi comes in to make its pit stop. Sends the stop board flying down the pit lane. No one holding it though. So Ilya Hart handing over to one of the 6 Austrian drivers in the race, Christopher Herr, 20-year-old racer. So they need to work on stopping in the right position in front of their pit garage. First, second and third. You've got an increasing advantage. It's 0.839 of a second between Gounon and Lucas Auer. We saw that twitch from Auer. That might have certainly increased the difficulty, but now Auer's really being pushed very hard indeed by the RWT Racing Corvette. Of course, people waiting to take over. There's Sebastian Ash waiting to take over from Lucas Auer. It looks as though the car will be brought in from second position, but certainly the pressure is being ramped up as Sven Barth really starts to attack him. 15 more seconds and we're at the midpoint in the race, but this is the view from second place Lucas Auer, and the car in front, yes, it is getting smaller because bit by bit Jules Gounon is eking his way clear down through the final corner. He will be going up the start finish straight one more time. What is the gap? Is it over a second now? Just waiting for the screens to flick through. Well, there you go, 1.055 of a second, so 0.2 of a second gained on that last lap. And after a race in which they've been trading hundredths, that's a big gain for the race leader. But of course, they all know they will be in the pits within about 2 more laps, I would suggest. They might want to try and go for 3, but I think they could be getting very, very close to missing the pit window. Of course, that closes when the clock at the top gets to 25 minutes left in the race. And now what we can see, the racing for second place is getting increasingly tight. Sven Barth can get close, but at certain points in the circuit, it seems the Mercedes, like the straight line acceleration, just seems to have the advantage over the mighty rumbling Corvettes. You can see at that point that down through the sweeper, through Rauch, in fact, some of the corners as well, the Mercedes looks a little bit more useful. Maybe Lucas Auer just attacking that shade more, going past some of the debris that was left on the circuit by the number 20 Zach Speed Mercedes after Nikolai Silvestre had that contact. Still cars peeling into the pits. The Sankir BMW coming in, going out again. Now Jules Gounon pretty much onto the tail of Dennis Bush. Up the start-finish straight they go, but it's the yellow and blue Audi about to be lapped by our race leader. Will he make it easy, or will Gounon flashing his lights saying, get out of the way, I'm coming through, I've just made myself, in fact he's gained another 0.3 of a second, 1.4 seconds clear, but all of those gains that have come could be shed. But Dennis Bush staying nicely out of the way on the left-hand side of the circuit from the driver's point of view as they go up the hill. There is the view through the windscreen of Jules Gounon's Callaway Corvette, but now Bush has to turn in at some point to the top of the corner at the top of the hill to Remus Curve. Hasn't hampered the driver in second place, but it was very, very vital for Jules Gounon and for the driver who will take over from him, Daniel Kalvitz, that the pass was made before the corner, and so it proved to be. Indy Dontje in the yellow and green Mercedes coming into the background of that shot. He has moved up into 6th place as various cars have pitted ahead of them. He was running about 9th position before the first few cars came into their pit stops. Car number 9, drive through a penalty. I think that could be for clouting the pit board down the pit lane. That was Ilya Earhart who handed over the number 9 Audi Sport Racing Academy R8 LMS to Christopher Herb, but certainly the pit box is right opposite my commentary position, and mechanic did have to go some distance down the pit lane to receive the board, but not knowing if that exactly was Rule 39.2, the article, I can't comment with complete accuracy now. So our race leader into the pit lane. So Jules Gounon has had enough. Will he be followed in? Yeah, number 9 coming to serve his penalty, but he's not followed in by the driver from 2nd place. So Lucas Auer leading on home ground. How tidy is this pit stop going to be? There's the 3rd place Corvette. In fact, sorry, Gounon stayed out. That's the 3rd place Corvette in the pit. That's Sven Barth. So Gounon and Auer continue in the lead of this race. I'm sure they'll be coming in next time around. I said how much they want to gamble at pit entry time. And 1st and 2nd have decided they'll do the most they possibly can before they hand over to their co-drivers. In the case of Daniel Kalvitz will take over from Jules Gounon, and Sebastian Asch from Lucas Auer. And Sven Barth, at the moment, handing over to Heckländer in the RWT Racing Corvette, Maximilian Heckländer. Preco, Porsche, it's been up and down the order a bit, but for Robert Renauer, the race is run, and he's handing that over to Sven Muller. Don't forget, they've already been race winners this year. Doesn't look as though there's any great change of order, because the cars that came in from 4th, 4th, 5th, and 6th, except has the yellow ACB Motorsport car has gained a position in the pit lane. I thought he was going to come out. Indy Dontje brought that car in from 6th place. It still says 6th on the screen, but he gained a position on the Zach Speed Mercedes in the pit lane. So Luca Ludwig, who just taken over the 21 entry from Lucas Stoltz, will be furious there. So hard to gain a position on the circuit. That's the number 20 Zach Speed entry. That's the one that had the problem in the pits. There is our race leader, Jules Gounon, hopping out. Erstwhile race leader, Daniel Kalvitz, climbing in. Can he make it 5 wins at ADAC GT Masters events here at the Red Bull Ring? He's got the double from 2013, 2014. Is he going to be doing the first part of a double here? Lucas Auer, such an impressive debut. The ADAC GT Masters Championship. And here he is. He's come in from 2nd place, handing over the 26 Mercedes from Muka Motorsport to his teammate Sebastian Asch. Now we saw place changes between 1st and 2nd, between 5th and 6th during the pit stops. Will it be the same from 1st and 2nd? It shouldn't be, because there was a gap of about 1.5 seconds between them when they came in. The Corvette rumbles down the pit lane, but it pitted at the entry to the pit lane, whereas the Muka Motorsport car has to serve its time at a standstill. No, it wasn't likely to go ahead, but it does look as though he's closed by about half a second, I'd say, during that pit stop sequence. So you take what you can get. So now we've got Gounon handing over to Kalvitz and Auer to Sebastian Asch. But importantly, the RWT Racing Corvette is going to be up to 2nd place, and if he can get the power down before on the run up the hill, we can have a swapping of the Corvettes in the lead of the race. It looks though Kalvitz has just got going enough to stop the charge up the hill from Maxi Hacklander, and there's Hecklander tucking in behind. So Corvettes were first and fourth at the start of the race. Very soon they're running first and third, and now they're running first and second. 24 minutes remaining in this race. Kalvitz, such a good hand with these Corvettes. You certainly feel if he's at the front, he should stay at the front. But for Hecklander, this is a golden chance in the RWT racing Corvette, and certainly way less experience with these cars than the driver ahead of him. Hecklander, you know, made his name racing polos, mainly doing the Nürburgring 24 hours the last few years since 2011. But this is his big chance to really dot down a great result for RWT racing. So Corvette's certainly well suited for the circuit. Here, their best results so far this season. He and Sven Barth, a 14th position. Here he is running second place, so a massive upswing of fortune. Robert Renauer looking as though he's had the downswing of fortune. He challenged, he had a few moments, but in the Precker Herbert Porsche. But the car now not where they wanted it to be. That number 99 entry down in fourth place. You can see the Muka Motorsport Mercedes running third behind the two Corvettes. There comes Robert Renauer's car, now being handled by Sven Muller. So frustration. Of course, these drivers get to do it all over again early afternoon tomorrow, starting at 1:15. But Robert just didn't have the handling in the early stage of the races. He was so positive, so feisty, always prepared to have a really good run. But I'm afraid we've got more pit infringement messages on the screen. Car number 48. Oh, I see the long face. Car number 99 is on that list. That is Robert Renauer's Porsche. So that's why he's got a long face. Car number 25 has also got one, which is one of the other cars from Muka Motorsport. That was Frank Stippler, who'd just taken over from Mike David Ortman. And car number 48, that's the HTP Motorsport Indy Donchi Marvin Kirchhofer car. We saw that gain a position in the pit lane, accelerating away. Maybe it's deemed he got a little too close to those cars behind it. Here is the car, the yellow Mercedes. Oh, dearie me, this on the grass, on the outside of the circuit. Philip Eng found diminishing returns as he tried to regain positions up the order. They didn't have the best of pit stops and seemed to lose a few positions. Then snaking his way. You've got to do some braking before you get to Rauch Curve. Hit the curb on the inside. That was a huge moment for them there. So there's Ricky Collard Jr. looking on. He did all the spade work, but it seems to be coming undone. He brought the car in from fourth place, but it hasn't worked out for those that stopped earlier. Those that stopped later seem to have the advantage. It's the two Corvettes at the front. It's Daniel Kalvitz. And here is the drive-through penalty for number 99. So their championship, don't forget, they was the points leaders coming here to the Red Bull Ring. Drive-through penalty, that 99 will keep going, but he will have shed about a dozen positions. So for Sven Muller and Robert Renauer, the championship leaders, this has not been the dream race. It looks like they were good for about fourth or fifth position in the race, but I'm afraid they're way outside the top 10 now, possibly about to lose another position unless they can continue accelerating up the hill. But a whole host of cars that were 10 positions behind them earlier in the race, this grouping here. Oh dear, engine fire. This was the car started by Norbert Siedler, the number 7 entry, just handed over to Marco Mappelli, came in just after the pit window closed. Engine fire there, so disaster for number 7, and one of the home drivers will have no finish here. Oh dear, so that was a very short run for Marco Mappelli. So conditions warm here, 25 degrees, 24 degrees air temperature, bobbing up and down, but certainly the temperature a lot hotter in the tail end of that pink and black. Marco Mappelli, Norbert Siedler, HB Racing Lamborghini, that being pushed away. So I've had a few fallers during the course of this race. In fact, it's just 2 garages down from one of the 2 Audi Sport Racing Academy cars, number 8, that was parked up very early on. So there's Sebastian Asch, looking at him, but his car, the Mercedes, the 26 Mercedes, now third, having spent so long in second place in the first half of the race. The Indy Donche number 48, but now Marvin Kirchhofer Mercedes in for its drive-through penalty. We've seen the 99 car serve its drive-through penalty. We'll be waiting for the number 25 Muka Motorsport Audi with Frank Stippler at the wheel coming in. So a lot of drivers being pinged for indiscretions out on the circuit. You have to say, looking at that shot there, as the Corvettes seem to have all the answers, the Muka Mercedes the best of the rest, and then we suddenly have sort of changes in the positions behind. Fourth place in the hand of a Zach Speed Mercedes there. as Luca Ludwig. Being pushed hard by Philippe Eng, who's been so robust, has to be, because he lost several positions, about 3 positions lost, or 4 even, by the BMW, but fighting its way back now. Going past the debris left by the sister Zach Speed Mercedes, not the one we're looking at here, but the number 20 version after a puncture. But Eng pushing very hard on Ludwig. Next in line is Michael Ammermuller. Don't forget the Porsche in the background was the car that won the opening race of the championship at Oschersleben. Seems quite a while ago now. He's coming under quite intense pressure himself. And the driver really pushing him hard is Maxi Götz. An enormous flag on the entrance to the circuit this morning from Maxi's fan club. Will it bring him luck? We will see. Sebastian Asch running a race of his own. But behind Ludwig and Eng, I think this one could entertain us for the next 2 laps. Would you like a push around the corner? Oh, it couldn't get much closer, but the BMW did the classic sort of wide-in, tight outline. Hasn't quite worked because the track then kinks back to the driver's right as they start their run across the top of the hill. The next corner, you go through the kink at the top of the hill. The only way you can go is up the outside. Go down the inside, there might be contact. Go, again, wide on the entry. Oh, fantastic. Low down rear camera shot. Just a wonderful angle, and the driver, the producer who decided that was a good place to put it, got it absolutely spot on. But Ludwig being made to go as wide as he possibly can. The BMW driver, Philippe Eng, really knowing where to dip up the inside, where to push him towards the outside, not touch the car, but just sort of suggest he might need to go wide. There was that bit of debris there, which rather ruins the possibility of an overtake down the slope to the approach of the Verstappen curb. Effectively the second part of the Pirelli curves really as you drop down the hill, but that BMW stays in 5th place. It seems to have the speed to do better than that, but the Zach Speed Mercedes is up ahead. Luca Ludwig will be planning to keep it just there. Just looking to see if there's any difference between them under acceleration out of that final corner. The Red Bull Mobile curve, no there isn't. Seems no advantage. Bit of a bounce over the curbs there from Philippe Eng. He's certainly got the temperature up in the cockpit of that M6. He is doing everything he possibly can. Little kink to the left coming up as they go up the slope towards the Rebus curve. And again, he'll take the outside line in the BMW. Nose not quite ahead, but he knows it's diminishing returns. He has to come off. Ludwig doing just what he needed to do to protect the corner there. You really need to have quite a speed advantage to go up the outside and make it work, because the track really, really cuts back on the drivers. Lights flashing, no need. I think Luca Ludwig knows you're there, Philip. But Philip, of course, racing on home ground. Was the contact? No, don't think so, but it was about as close as you could possibly get into the Rauch curve. And Philippe Eng really, really fancies a look up the inside. And here comes a move up the inside. Oh, but not quite. He had half a car length, car's width to go for. Didn't quite make it work. So for those behind, led by Michael Ammermuller, this is probably what they're looking for. Yes, you can see the Porsche getting closer and closer. Here is a replay of how close they got up at the Remus curve. Did they touch? Your guess is as good as mine. No, they didn't, and certainly not easy for Philippe Eng. As he bounced over the curbs, he must have missed by about, let's be generous, 10 centimetres, I would suggest. So down in the pit lane, Rise smiles from Jules Gounon. His car still in the lead of the race, but all eyes from the TV producer and director, no doubt, kept on this battle for 4th place. This is where the fighting is really tight, because Gounon's car, now with Daniel Kalvitz, has as lead as big as it's had pretty much all race, 1.3 seconds last time around, over the number 13 RWT Racing Corvette of Maxi Heckländer. Now the BMW's made the move work. Worked hard for about 2 or 3 laps, made the move work, and Michael Ammermuller in the Porsche is now having a little look, because being pushed to the outside of the circuit, better acceleration, having had the wider entry to the corner, goes the way of the Zach Speed Mercedes, but importantly, the position has been gained. 4th place, earned very well indeed, driven really hard by Philippe Eng. Oh, but then he's flicked the tail out, he's gone wide. This is the chance for the position to go back the other way. Luca Ludwig much tidier around the corner in the Mercedes, but he knows the track goes back in the opposite direction. And look out for Michael Ammermuller in that black and white Audi at the back of the pack. We've got the BMW, then the Mercedes, then the Porsche. Plenty of manufacturer variety in the ADAC GT Masters Championship. Almost nose to tail, but that was a lot of pressure exerted by Philippe Eng. He made it work, and then at the Rauch curve on the exit, nearly threw it away. Peter Sakowski watching his car in the battle there, not looking as pleased as he was a lap ago. He knew the pressure was intense on Luca Ludwig, and Ludwig eventually cracked and then immediately got Michael Ammermuller coming up onto his tail, and Maximo Gertz as well. But the move was just better acceleration out of the opening corner and the bravery to go up the outside through that kink. But it was down to possibly a poor exit from the first corner from Luca Ludwig, and Philipp Eng didn't need a second invitation. Oh dear, this is a car on the start-finish straight, not looking how it should be. I think we'll be having a red flag, or certainly a safety car, because Klaus Bechler started the race and Alex McDowell has had a big hit out of the final corner. The number 36 Schutz Motorsport Porsche, and just at that time it was 1.4 seconds, the gap between first and second. Remember that, because that's going to be absolutely thrown away. In the background, I'm afraid that is a classic Red Bull Ring incident where people get it slightly wrong on the exit of the corner, and where it really bites is when you get spat back across the circuit onto the inside and take a big hit on the pit wall. So McDowell in the 36, that is a big shunt. Nothing left straight on that car. Of course, the survival cell has done everything it should, but it was a double hit. And for those behind, a fair bit of debris being thrown around, including right in front of the Precker Herbert. Look how many bits are hitting Sven Muller as he goes past. Let's have another look. Just ran a little bit wide. Was the contact with the Land Motorsports Audi that was tucked in behind? I can't tell, but there is debris all over the circuit. So the drivers all sneaking them around, but there is a lot of debris, a lot of shards of carbon fibre. Safety car, of course, leading the field around. We'll pick up the leaders when they reach out of the first corner. But for the 36 Schutz Porsche, that was a big incident. The drivers all having to snake their way between, and his teammate running down to check on that's Klaus Bechler, looking across to see the state of the car. That was a big hit for Alex McDowell there. And it's one of those ones that you just get a little bit wide. Maybe it snapped. Couldn't quite see if there was a contact with the Land Audi behind, but it was a real clatter against the pit wall. So, of course, all the gaps will come down. It's Daniel Karlwitz leading in the 77 Corvette. Another Corvette in second place with Mexi Heckländer. There's Alex McDowell, and the best sign we've seen for a while is the thumb up from the medical crew when they get there. I'm sure the British driver is somewhat winded after that impact, but big tall fellow climbs out of the car. The red flag, not surprising there, because I'm afraid so much debris scattered around the circuit. And for the 36 crew, an unfortunate end to their race. Just taking a look, the number 2 Land Audi tucked in behind with Christopher Haase at the wheel. There was that sort of double hit, front left, front right, round it whipped, and the tail got a batter as well. In fact, the cars did very well behind to avoid it. Seeing from the long shot from turn 1, look how much bodywork, everything was thrown at the Precker Herbert Porsche. Amazing slow motion shots there. And Sven Muller had to take to the grass in avoidance, and then the HTP Motorsport Mercedes that had already served a drive-through penalty nearly had a further penalty in having to go off the circuit in avoidance. There's the yellow and green Mercedes in the background, but that's a big thump against the metal Armco barriers on the inside of the circuit, and just a wall of debris flying in the air as Alex McDowell brings the car to a halt in the middle of the circuit. But right down in the pack, red flag is out, so the race order at the end, I can now give you confirmation when the red flag. It's 77 from 13, which is Gunon and Karlwitz, so that could in theory be Karlwitz's 5th win in ADAC GT Masters races here at the Red Bull Ring. 2 in 2013, 2 in 2014. Second place to the number 13 RW Racing crew, Sven Barth and Maximilian Heckländer. And don't forget, that's Corvette's first and second. 26, well, there will be an Austrian on the podium because Lucas Auer and Sebastian Asch. There's their pink Mercedes running in 3rd place in the line. Safety car leading them around. Chance for the crews. Sven Barth looking out over the wall. The RWT Racing Corvette. There's the 3rd place Mercedes running along behind. And the rescue crews deserve applause here because they were very quick to get out of the circuit, and it seems a lot of that debris has already been brushed away. So good work by the marshals. And we nearly got to the 50-minute point in this 1 hour race, but race officials doing absolutely the right thing. 4th place, Philipp Eng, and the driver who started it, Ricky Collard Jr. 5th place, Luca Ludwig, and in the 21, Mercedes from Zach Speed, which was started by Lucas Stoltz. Michael Ammermuller at the wheel of the number 17 Porsche at the end, that was started by Mathieu Jaminet. 7th place, Maxi Götz, the 84 Mercedes, started by Patrick Assenheimer. 8th place, the better place, the 2 Land Motorsport Audis. That's Conor De Filippi and Christopher Mies. Mies at the wheel when the red flag came out. Car number 3, Os Motorsport Audi, Marcus Pommet and Kelvin van der Linde, the South African at the wheel at the time. And the 10th place overall, the number 90 Lamborghini. And that's Mirko Bortolotti, started by Ezequiel Perez Compang. And the 63 sister car from GRT Grasser Racing got up to 13th place at the end. Times just changing. Engelhardt taking over from Rolf Ineichen. All the cars sitting down while we have this waiting to see if there will be a restart. The clock ticking away. And just a question of how fast they think they can clear the debris. Will we have time for the race to be restarted? But with the red flag having waved, of course, the car's told to stop on the start-finish straight until further information is passed their way. Robert Renauer, Sven Muller, championship leaders coming here, sitting down in 16th position. This is the car that had all the debris hitting it. It had that drive-through penalty that turned Robert Renauer's face into a frown. You see, it's not the scars of battle. The grass picked up by running wide and running close behind those who were running wide. Robert Renauer got up to 2nd place on the charge of the first corner, held it for early stages of the race, fell to 3rd, fell to 4th, and came under huge pressure, particularly from Lucas Auer. And there you can see, maybe that's proof of that body contact for Christopher Haase and the number 2 Audi. This is the one that was right with the 36 Porsche, the Schutz Porsche, when it went off. So running repairs, all the crews doing what they can. Team managers trying to keep their drivers in the picture, but for right now they'll be saying, and there's the message just come up onto screen, race will be resuming at 14:20, so in about 8 minutes, 8.5 minutes. So that message will be being put through to the drivers. More contact. Racing was possibly, that might have been. Oh, of course, we had the contact early in the race. The 63 Lamborghini, Rolf Ineichen, he was the meat in a sandwich and got pushed across and hit the lone Nissan in the race. The number 22 car, Remo Lips at the wheel at the time. Then Lips picked up a puncture from that contact going into the opening corner, had to limp his way round the circuit. And of course, the tyre carcass didn't make it the whole way round. That was dropped after about 7 of the 9 corners, and still the Nissan made it back to the pits, but damage they didn't fancy for the rest of the race. So action aplenty, but the 77 Corvette crew enjoying the best of the form. Callaway competition, they've won here many times in the past, but importantly they've stayed clear of trouble. All but they did get 1 black and white warning flag, so certainly for changing direction more than once, but nothing has come of that, and the message will be very, very plain from race manager at Callaway to the driver at the wheel at the moment, Daniel Kalvitz. Do not do what Jules Gounon did to annoy the race officials, but all seems to be clear at the moment. That was some while ago. There's been no repeat of the black and white flag to the 77 Corvette crew, so they've just got to keep their calm. Restart in another 7 minutes. With so much debris having been dropped out around the circuit at various points during the race, largely from little bits of contact and little bits of shed bodywork, all the crews checking all the tyres on the 20-plus remaining cars in this opening ADAC GT Masters race this weekend here at the Red Bull Ring. Another one tomorrow. Let's hope the weather is as good as it is now. In fact, it's cooling down slightly. The track temperature, a few more clouds you can see up above Philip Geipel have led to the track temperature dropping from, it peaked at 49 degrees just before the formation lap. It's now down to 31 degrees. Air temperature has also
dropped a little bit. It's gone 4 degrees down to 23 degrees. I think what we're getting now is the wind is just starting to pick up a little bit, coming from sort of south-southwest direction. You can't feel it if you're down on the starting grid because the big grandstand you can see in the background there rather blocks it off and makes it quite a hot place to be. But if you're sitting in the big grandstands overlooking the opening corner, or perhaps just doing a bit of a modelling shoot in a lull in proceedings, it's a little bit cooler. You can see the wind blowing the model's hair. So the crews all just talking to their drivers down on the grid. Wonderful shot from that grandstand. Great grandstand there. Wonderful view over a lot of the circuit here at the Red Bull Ring. In the background, in the paddock, you can just see the yellow truck withdrawing with that battered number 36 Schutz Motorsports Porsche, the car that Alex McDowell was in when it hit the pit end of the barriers just before the pit wall. And that incident between itself and car number 2, Christopher Haase, in one of the 2 Land Motorsport Audis, is still under investigation. And a rear wing has been borrowed from another team. That's not a Twin Bush Motorsport Audi, but it's sitting on top of one. They've lent their rear wing, you can see, it's just being moved across. Nice to see a bit of sharing in the pit lane. And that's going on to the other Land Motorsport Audis. That's the one Connor De Filippi started the race, and Christopher Mies the wheel of in the moment, in 8th place overall. (14:20) will come round in about 3 minutes time, in about 4 minutes time. So it's been all about the number 77 Callaway Competition Corvette. Jules Gounon scored his first ever pole in the ADAC GT Masters Championship, or the first one he was able to keep. And he had an exemplary run to the first corner. Brilliant start off pole position on the rolling start, and was never really troubled all along. He had pressure just about a second and a half down, but he kept his pace constant, then handed over to Daniel Kalvitz from the lead, and Daniel was able to very quickly extend that advantage. And he wasn't pushed by the Muka Motorsport Mercedes that had pushed Gounon so much in the first half of the race, but due to a very good pit stop and driver change, the RWT racing crew put their Corvette up from 3rd into 2nd place, and are pushing very hard indeed, because the number 13 RWT Corvette, Sven Barth, handed over to Maximilian Heckländer, and I don't know if Heckländer is going to be able to resist the pressure from behind, but I certainly think Sebastian Asch might be able to challenge. But the clock, of course, keeps on ticking, and we will only have about 8 minutes of racing once we get underway again, so that might be enough for Heckländer to defend that 2nd position. Certainly Sebastian Asch really will fancy getting that pink number 26 Mercedes. There you can see it, 3rd in the line of cars, up into 2nd if he possibly can. But for Asch, his best finish so far this year, when he shared with Stefan Muka, was a 6th place in the opening race. So this will be a big step forward. And it has to be said that Lucas Auer, leader of the DTM series, only a 22-year-old driver, so much experience from the European Formula 3 Championship, then from DTM, has put on an astonishing performance to entertain the home fans, and I think is probably rather likes this championship because it's been a major splash he's made. And it's one thing, you know, coming to play in your home race, and we're all great fans of drivers jumping from one championship to another, making guest appearances, but to put yourself right at the front end certainly does your career a major boost. And for the home fans, it's brilliant to have another one of their drivers. They already had 5 entered for this race. Now they've got 6, and one of them there is sitting. His car is 3rd in the line. His job is done. He did the run from 2nd place to 2nd place, 2nd on the grid, and brought it home in 2nd place when it came to those late driver changes just before the pit window closed. That 10-minute window they have between 25 minutes and 35 minutes into this 1-hour race. Still under red flag conditions. Glad to say, if you've just turned on, we had an incident where the number 36 Schutz Motorsport Porsche clipped the barriers just before the pit wall starts. At the back right-hand corner of your screen, there might have been contact with the number 2 Audi. That's under investigation going through that final corner. The black and yellow Porsche went across the start-finish straight, hit the pit wall, but delighted to say the car's been retrieved. But far more important than the car, the driver is fine. Alex McDowell was taken out. We saw the thumbs up from the medical official. So for one of the Austrian drivers, Klaus Bachler, that's McDowell's teammate, this will be a no finish here in the opening race. But the good news is McDowell is out of the car and fine, and we're just waiting. The engines are firing up on the grid. That's good news indeed. The race is supposed to start again at 14:20. It's 14:19. You can see it on the starting gantry. Clear the grid, and they'll be led around behind the safety car. Lights are flashing, and of course, once you see the lights going out on the roof of the safety car, that is when you know, and more importantly, the driver at the front of the queue will get to know that the race start is imminent. That means it will be peeling off, but normally they turn those lights off only about a corner or two corners before they might make their move into the pit lane. Wonderful shot there. That's the car that will be restarting. Thank you for that, Marshall, for wearing those reflective sunglasses. Well caught by the cameraman. Daniel Kalvitz at the start of the line there. Second in the line is Maxi Heckländer. Third in the line is the Mercedes, the pink Mercedes from Muka Motorsport, with Sebastian Asch at the wheel. Fleeting madness on the timing screens. We suddenly had the number 48 car at the top, but that's been removed again. In fact, that's running 17th, so I don't know how he suddenly gained 16 positions while standing still, but what we like to see with the orange lights flashing on the starting gantry as the drivers are away on this formation lap. For Daniel Kalvitz, the driver at the front of the queue, he will keep his eyes on the lights on the roof of the Audi safety car. Of course, they're still flashing as they snake their way, weave their way up the hill through that little kink to the Ramus curve, where you still carry on turning, climbing very slightly on the exit, that very sharp corner. Goes up a few more degrees, then it starts to drop. But there's the message that the drivers knew, that we know. Less than 10 minutes remaining in this race. Safety car in this lap. Yes, the lights are still flashing, but the message will be transferred to the teams, transmitted to the drivers by the teams. They have to get the hammer down. The driver who dictates the getaway will be the driver at the front of the queue, will be Daniel Kalvitz. 10 minutes remaining in this race. There you can see the clock at the top of the screen. Of course, if all had run smoothly, this race would have ended at 2:15 local time. It is now 2:21. Red Bull Ring looking absolutely fantastic. One of the best settings in motor racing. That high shot taken over the Rauch curve, just showing what a wonderful, twisting, rising, falling stretch of tarmac it is here at Spielberg. The old grandstands in the distance covered up. Put the big circuit flag on. Quite a few fans actually dotted around the upper slopes of the hill, but the main grandstands are the ones here on this Saturday that are filled, and particularly the one up at that first corner. So it's Corvettes first and second. It's Callaway Competition ahead of RWT Racing. Then Muka Motorsport, which enters a couple of Audis, but their main car this weekend here is the Mercedes AMG that it's entering. And with Lucas Auer joining the show, it's put it far closer to the front than it's been before. Drivers have seen the lights go out on the roof, the safety car's withdrawn, and Kalvitz was wide awake. He decided to go just before that penultimate corner, and that's given him about a 4-car advantage. They go over the start-finish line. In fact, the challenge is for second place, and Philipp Eng in fourth in that BMW is taking a little look as they go up the slope into the first corner. Are there any place changes? No, but the real yes, there is. About 10th place, I think, got a place change, but the real gain there was Daniel Kalvitz. I think he's done enough on that restart to guarantee his 5th win. Look at that advantage. It was nothing, and then he just got the restart super right. And one of the Aust Motorsport Audis trying to make a move up the slope. It's number 3 with Kelvin van der Linde, black and red on the outside of the corner. Will he gain a place or will he lose? You roll the dice, you gamble, you go to the outside, you can benefit. In this case, I think he has, but will he be pushed wide? Oh, yes, he's on the wrong line as they go down into the Rauch curve, and the Lamborghini tucked in behind with Mirko Bortolotti. Fancies a place gain and very nearly manages it as the black and red Audi was pushed towards the outside of the circuit and was on the wrong line. It looks like it was all going really well for Kelvin van der Linde. Now he fights, but he's on the outside of the corner at Kurt Pirelli, and if he gets pushed any wider, well, that's wide enough if you want. He's into the gravel and comes out the other side, but he's behind Mirko Bortolotti, so the Lamborghini driver has gained. It's been very robust, but you have to say, what a brave drive from Kelvin van der Linde. I've lost the position, but I'm not going to back off. And through the very tricky Wurst Alpine corner, he kept on fighting, had the car off the track, put it back on. Now we're looking back from the Muka Mercedes. Looks though Philippe Eng has done enough to get up the inside as they go onto the start-finish straight. The Zach Speed Mercedes tucked in behind with Luca Ludwig at the wheel. And it's the BMW's gone ahead, so a place gained from Philippe Eng, a place lost by Sebastian Ash. Now he's on the outside line, he's got to watch, he doesn't leave the door open up the inside. Luca Ludwig looks like he might make it in the Zach Speed Mercedes, but just headed off by... Oh, we've got a pit visitor. We've got the Busch Audi coming into the pit lane, but the Zach Speed car just was headed off by the Muka Mercedes. And behind there, two abreast trying to gain positions. Around the outside comes Maxi Goetz in the black and white Mercedes. He just picked off the Koos Porsche as well. So Ammermuller lost out. Goetz gained. Who else gained? Of course, the BMW did on the start-finish straight, but Sebastian Ash had to be robust. And for Luca Ludwig, it's all going slightly wrong because now he's got Maxi Goetz trying to go around the outside. Door handle to door handle, might be a little bit of contact, and then the Ammermuller Porsche trying to dive up the inside. But for now, I say that advisedly, looks like Luca Ludwig has hung on. There it is, 0.5 on the windscreen of the Zach Speed Mercedes. Maxi Goetz looks like he got him, but somehow Ludwig braved it out and stays in position. Ammermuller in the Koos Porsche, really trying to push Maxi Goetz, but Maxi has gained at least one position on this lap, and the place lost was at the expense of Michael Ammermuller in the Porsche. Oh dear, it's not Lamborghini's day because number 19 is now pulled to a halt on the start-finish straight. What? Mirko Bortolotti was in that battle, and now he'd been 10th at the start, at the restart, and something has popped or banged. There's been no contact. Out of the way. Now, will we have safety car? Yes, we will have safety car. And got message of two punishments. Car number 44, drive-through penalty. That's not affecting anyone at the front end. It's Dennis Busch. Drive-through penalty for car number 2. That was the one we thought had been in the battles. And Christopher Haase, drive-through penalty. That was a contact with the 36 car. So it's been adjudicated. There was contact, but safety car again. So this is looking very good for Daniel Karlvitz. He's proved that he knows exactly how to take a restart with good effect. Will he have a chance to do one more restart? Because we've only got 5 minutes left on the clock. Let's have a look in the background of the shot. We're looking for the green Lamborghini. Oh, no, this is the move that was made. A very tidy exit from the final corner by the BMW. Not such a good exit from the Mercedes. Sebastian Ash looks like he's about to lose a further position because coming up to challenge him is the Zach Speed Mercedes behind. Ash went out in the pink Mercedes over the curbs, nearly lost it, somehow got it back together. Then it looks like the Zach Speed car would make a run, and all along in the background, the black and white Mercedes, you can just see it just 2 positions further behind Ludwig's Mercedes. Gosh, it got incredibly close. Maxi Goetz was on the attack, and a couple of others were losing position, but importantly for Philippe Eng, he was up the inside line there, the inside line of Sebastian Ash, and therefore the corner was his, even though he still took such an acute angle into the corner that he ended up having to run off the track. Running off also at that first corner was Sebastian Ash, but he did enough to keep it back on, keep it in 4th place ahead of Luca Ludwig. Then here came Maxi Goetz, got his nose just ahead, and then put his side into the 21 Luca Ludwig Mercedes. That might be something else for the stewards to look at. Michael Ammermuller's Porsche tucked in behind. A bit more contact. That pushed the tail. That's why Maxi Goetz suddenly fell away on the exit of Rauch from Luca Ludwig and dropped back that little bit in 6th place. But it got very, very tight indeed. And we've got a pit visitor. This will be number 2 coming in. That's Christopher Haase coming in for his drive-through penalty for his contact with the 36 Porsche that ended up with the 36 Porsche bringing the red flag out with its big clatter against the barriers on the start-finish straight. So that will go to the tail of the field, the number 2 Audi. The clock still ticking through. You can see 3 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in this race. We've got that safety car. It's been a busy driver this afternoon, out on the track again while that Lamborghini is being cleared up. I can't quite see it from my commentary position, but we know the 19 Lamborghini pulled to a halt. Mirko Bortolotti, who's had this golden season so far, already won victory in the ADAC GT Championship. Last time around, the second of the 2 races that Lausitz ring, but has been winning sprint races, endurance racing in the Blancpain GT Series. And basically, anywhere you can race a Lamborghini Huracan, he's the man who can. So there is the car at the side of the circuit. Team based just around the corner at Nittelfeld, so very much their local circuit. They've got a lot of hospitality here in the paddock, a lot of guests here this weekend and this was a car they hoped would be up heading for another podium, but unfortunately it's a DNF, did not finish, so they'll be very disappointed down there with that sort of result, or non-result as we call it. So with the sister car, Rolf Eichen and Christian Engelhardt starting right at the tail of the grid, and their points leaders, second on points, Perez, Compag and Bortolotti starting 13th and only getting up to the tail end of the top 10. It hasn't been a great run here at the Red Bull Ring. Safety car still leading the field around into the final 2 minutes allocated for this race. Just running through the first Alpine curva. Still behind the safety car. Of course, all eyes will be on the lights on the roof of the car. I think we'll be having one further lap. At least we may go through to the end of this race still behind the safety car, because clearly that car has yet to be cleared from the start-finish straight. It's right at the start of the start-finish straight, and I'm fairly sure, because they can't go against the traffic, they will have to drive it up to the pit exit. Charlie Lamb giving the instructions. Team Schnitzer, he knows his car has been very well driven and is heading for third place, because I don't think we're going to get, however fast they get that truck on the move, I don't think in the next 1 minute and 5 seconds it will have withdrawn from the circuit. So I'm fairly sure we will finish behind the safety car, which even in this short period of time, the gain has been the Schnitzer BMW going ahead of Sebastian Asch in the 26 Muka Mercedes. That has been the change of position at the top end. And also Maxi Götz moved up one position from the previous stoppage into 6th place. Michael Ammermuller back to 7th. And then the positions behind we had the one person gaining was the number 50 crew, which is the Yako Racing Audi, started by Philip Geipel, when Rahel Frey has moved up into 10th place overall. But the clock has beaten us this time around, I would suggest. And it looks as though victory, well, either way, it was going to be a Corvette victory, running first and second. There they are behind the safety car, but the light's still flashing away. So that would not be withdrawing this time around as they go through Rauch Curve. There we are. The clock has reached the top of the hour, if you will, and I believe that would now be a race result. Just wonderful clockwork action there. The truck removes that number 19 Lamborghini, but for Jules Gounon and Daniel Kalvitz, so well placed in this championship, second coming here. They retired in the first race, but a run of 2nd, 5th and 4th place finishes, and now, barring some extraordinary twist of fate, they're heading for their first win of the year. That will put them, I think, into the championship lead. Safety car, I'm sure, will now just peel them back into the paddock, waiting for the message to get to the driver. And they're just too late. It had been a lap earlier. Pulling off at the first corner is the truck with the damaged car, but I think those lights will stay on. If they suddenly flip off and the cars start racing, I've got it wrong, but it looks as though behind the safety car, this race has come to an end. It's been Corvettes dominating, and the 77 crew from Callaway Competition have not put a wheel wrong. Yep, past the start, past the pit entry they go, so still that safety car leading them round, and I think they will be finding a checkered flag on the start-finish straight. It's still a board and a waved yellow flag, not a checkered flag. Don't quite understand that. I expected they would see, as the clock had got to 0-0, we would have seen a checkered flag, but I think maybe the instruction is for them to be let in, and so not everyone knows exactly what's going on down there. And RWT Racing there still, well, here's the message, final lap, but it's behind the safety car, so I think we know our finishing order, so it's going to be victory. Must have been by dint of a second or two. Down in the pit, still some confused faces, but for Jules Gounon and for Daniel Kalvitz, that's Kalvitz's 5th win in ADAC GT Masters races here at the Red Bull Ring. Clearly the car suits well, because look, they're coming first and second behind the safety car. They know this race is over, but for Daniel Kalvitz, that's a fantastic result. And for Jules Gounon, that just shows the young French racer, son of former Formula 3000 star and sports car racer Jean-Marc Gounon. That's a very, very strong result indeed. He and Daniel Kalvitz were 3rd overall last year and picked up 3 wins along the way, but I think this year's championship is looking more to their liking. So in a beautiful sunny afternoon here at the Red Bull Ring, the first of the two ADAC GT Masters rounds here in Austria this weekend is concluded. There is the checkered flag. And so the order in which the cars are running around now, they're in race order, but not in race form, because, of course, race form involves a great deal more speed. It's been a race packed with incident, but really it's belonged all afternoon to Jules Gounon and the driver at the wheel at the moment, Daniel Kalvitz. And so the Valvoline livery Callaway competition Corvette makes it to the finish there, and very happy crew members. And we will see the cars peel down. The podium ceremony already being lined up, getting the right trophies in the right places. But for Ernst Ver and Giovanni Ciccioni, it is job done. There is the checkered flag. There are the top finishers. And I think for RWT Racing, as I said before, they've picked up 2/3 of nothing. Best finish before for Sven Barth and Maxi Heckländer was a 14th, and here they are finishing second overall. But for the Callaway competition crew, that's the first part of the weekend done. There's the checkered flag being rolled up, but it's a Corvette 1-2, two different racing teams. Callaway competition at the front, just pick a bit of grass for no reason there, and tucked in behind the example from RWT Racing. But in the Callaway competition pit, they too have had great success here over the years. Those two doubles in 2013 and 2014. Add another one. Lots of Corvettes in the paddock as well. It's clearly a popular car. In fact, one overtook me on the way in from Vienna Airport yesterday afternoon. Going a bit faster than my little hire car. Sounding a whole lot better as well. But 1-2 for the Corvette crew. Then BMW, Team Schnitzer Motorsport. Who else? In third place overall. With their M6, Philipp Eng bringing it home. But with the drivers out on the circuit, can't wait to see Daniel Kalvitz being reunited with Jules Gounon. And certainly Kalvitz and Gounon proving a very, very strong pairing. Conditions were kind, don't forget, overnight. Well, early hours this morning it started raining very heavily. You couldn't see the top of the mountains, even the side of the mountains, till about 9 o'clock. And we just started to get a few breaks. Little patches of blue sky, and the sun soon burnt through, dried the circuit off. It was very damp this morning, and qualifying times really were a bit jumbled up because of that. But Jules Gounon took his first pucker pole position in the ADAC GT Masters, converted that pole position into a race lead on the run up the hill into the first corner, and was never seriously challenged. Drove very, very hard indeed. Didn't put a wheel wrong. Many of those behind did just every now and again slip off the circuit under the eyes of the big bull. But there it is. Corvettes first and second. Daniel Kalvitz coming home ahead of Maximilian Heckländer. Philipp Eng fought his way up to third place ahead of Sebastian Asch to take that final position on the podium for BMW. Luca Ludwig was in the wars but held on. Real challenge from Maxi Goetz to take 5th place overall. Of course, it looks close at the end, down to 16th position, only 8 seconds down on the leader. But of course, that was behind the safety car. There was a busy period for them through the course of the race. But we had 20 of the 29 starters to the finish. So certainly more incidents than is the norm in this championship, but quite a few punctures from contact. But we had that big hit for the 36 Schutz Motorsport Porsche. That was the major incident of the race, but glad to see Alex McDowell climb out of that. And there is Jules Gounon wearing the cap. Just can't wait for Daniel Kalvitz to climb out. Their first win of the year. And also at RWT Racing, very, very happy indeed. Number 13 crew, Sven Barth, started off. And there is in that shot, that's Daniel Kalvitz climbing out, but in the background you will probably see the shot of Maxi Heckländer. There he is. He's out of the car. Very pleased. Nowhere near a podium in previous races, nowhere near the top 10, and they've come away with second place here. I think their smiles are probably going to be even larger than those on the faces of the winning crews. And the third place BMW, that had to fight very hard. Philipp Eng brings that in, but that was raced very well indeed by Ricky Collard Jr. in the first part of the race. And had to go hard to get past Sebastian Asch. There's Collard in the background taking the applause of the team. High fives, and Philipp is such a fighter in the car, because he came out of the pit stop some places down and managed to work it back to where it had been earlier in the race, up in third, fourth positions overall. But for Maxi Hacklander. You can see the delight there. Thumbs up, high fives to the pit crew. And they've got to do it all over again tomorrow. So hopefully that 36 Schutz Motorsport Porsche can be repaired, but we can't be 100% sure of that. So fingers crossed, but it's going to be a late, late night for the Schutz Motorsport crew. But right now, the Callaway competition crew and the RWT racing crews will be the ones that have the biggest smiles on their faces as they all gather by the cars in the Parc Fermé area. Yeah, you can see the TV crews down there. You can see on the left-hand side up a little bit is the podium with the girls waiting up there. But it's a packed race agenda here at the Red Bull Ring. You can already see the pit vehicles, the tyres and pit boards being brought in for the next bit of racing action, which is the ADAC TCR Germany runners. They're coming in the background. They've got to get the focus on their own races, but from the ADAC GT Masters, I think we've got to look back at what has been an enthralling race. Plenty of incident, plenty of really close racing. Drivers getting right in on each other and looking never more picturesque than it is here in Austria at the Red Bull Ring. Drivers will be, I'm sure, as soon as they've done those quick interviews down in Parc Fermé, they'll be whisked up to the podium. But it may well be the podium is being carried out at the time the next race comes to start. The next one is due to start if we keep to the timetable, but I think it will slide backwards at 10 minutes from now. Those not having completed their places on the podium, not having got to the top three, just walking back to their garages. Some will be pleased, some will. There were quite a few incidents, quite a few drive-through penalties, so I think a lot of the crews will have to just ask their drivers to just pay a little bit more attention in the pit lane, perhaps. But all in all, some great racing, 29 starters, great cars on a brilliant circuit on a sunny afternoon in the summer. How could it not be fun? So Corvettes, first and second, the BMW M6. You can see on the right hand of your screen, right in the action. Third place, Ricky Collard started the race. Philipp Eng fought his way back past the Muka Mercedes and that Precoat Herbert Porsche to get into third place overall. Sven Barth handed over to Maximilian Hecklander, and that was second place for RWT Racing in a Corvette 1-2, but victory in the first of the two races, the Valvoline livery Callaway competition Corvette C7, started by Jules Gounod, handed over to Daniel Kalvitz, and Kalvitz knows how to win ADAC GT Masters races here at the Red Bull Ring. He had two in 2013, two in 2014, and one so far in 2017. They certainly looked in imperious form. A few more clouds over the Red Bull Ring, but certainly no clouds over the top three finishers. Eng and Collard on the right-hand side of your screen. Jules Gounod, Daniel Kalvitz in the middle. And therefore, the drivers in second place have already gone through the door, up the stairs, and they're going to go for their podium ceremony. The big bull overlooking the circuit, just inside the Pirelli curve as the track curves its way back down the mountainside. And it provides a surreal backdrop to the racing. Not that the drivers have time to pay attention. Those 9 corners, apart from the run between turn 1, even that's got a kink up to the Remus curve. They have precious little time in which they can take in the amazing scenery here, in this stunning part of Austria. So this isn't the green room, but it's the equivalent. It's a corridor where the drivers can stand just behind the podium. Master of Ceremonies getting ready to bring them out. So 2 Corvette crews chased home by the BMW from BMW Team Schnitzer, with Philipp Eng doing his all to build on the good work of Ricky Collard Jr. in the first part of the race. But you have to say that Jules Gounod and Daniel Kalvitz just had everything under control. Just seemed to be the masters of their own destiny, got to the front in qualifying, stayed there throughout. And the RWT racing crew pushed hard and hunted down the Mercedes, the Lucas Auer started Mercedes that was handed over to Sebastian Asch. That ended up in 4th place overall after Eng's charge. Deserved better in many ways, but Eng was not to be deprived, not to be denied, and worked his way onto that final step on the podium. But that's still the Muka Motorsport Mercedes' best result of the season. Best before today was 6th place, with Stefan Muka sharing it. but with Lucas Auer coming on board this weekend, it ran as high as second place, looked good for possible third place, but has ended up in a slightly stop-start race in fourth place, but still very useful points. And for championship leaders coming here to Austria, the 99 crew ended up outside the top 10. So they will be frustrated with that, but a drive-through penalty in a championship as competitive as the ADAC GT Masters will never leave you with the points. You'll never get any points for that because it's just too competitive to work your way back into the point scoring positions. It's just waiting for the drivers to be called to the podium any moment now. I can just see them shaping up in the background, waiting to come down. And of course, points only down to 10th place, so I'm sure that will lead. Well, there's the championship, just as I wish for it. Kajvits and Gunon leading, 65 points. Collard and Eng, that third place on the track, translates to second place overall. Muller and Renauer, no points today. Didn't get in the top 10. They slipped from first to third. Compank, Bortolotti, they ended up stationary at the side of the track. Will be fourth after that race. So for those behind, I think we'll see other people gaining position. Amma Muller and Jaminet, more useful points for them. Ludwig and Stoltz, now seventh. They also picked their way up the order. So it was a case of some of the top scorers before we came here having a little bit of a tumble in that race, but we have new championship leaders now in the form of Daniel Kajvits and Jules Gunon, and victory today certainly helped their championship aspirations. So the Corvette crew looking up, waiting for their drivers to be called to the podium, and here they come. Kajvits out first, Gunon out second. Gunon pointing to the champagne already. And the drivers in second place. Oh, they love it coming out. Punch from Maxi Hecklender and Sven Barth. He knows how to celebrate, but that was a huge result for the RWT Racing crew. And third place, they worked hard for it. Ricky Collard, arm in arm. Philipp Eng, Austrian driver on home ground, at least, up onto the podium. So plenty of applause from the BMW crew. That was worked very hard drive for them. So Callaway competition getting the applause. Team boss going up there. So the national anthem's over, it's caps back on and time for the presentation of the trophies. A massive bull on a block, on a plinth. Jules Gunon takes it for the winning team. And one for Daniel Kajvits as well, he knows what they look like. That's his fifth one here at the Red Bull Ring. The Silver Bulls to the second place crew, and Sven Barth, yeah, he's very much enjoying that, but I think Maxi Hecklender is the driver who's got the greatest pleasure up there on the podium, because this is a race that's really starting to make his name. Job very well done. Can he do the same again tomorrow? Philipp Eng, bronze bull trophy on home ground, and Ricky Collard Jr., his first year of experience of GT racing, I think we can say with one win in the bag, and now that third place, he's very much enjoying that as well. And a big Satina timepiece for the garage wall to Galloway competition crew. Drivers never know what to do, hold the trophy or get the fizz. And in fact, for those who've got they've all got a second race tomorrow, so they don't want those overalls to get too stuck with fizz. But I think particularly for the RWT Racing crew, they don't really mind, because that's been such an upturn in their fortune. You can see Sven Barth is going, that was hot work, I need a little bit of a drink. Clearly the most effective champagne sprayer has been Maxi Hecklender. There's almost no fizz left in his bottle, but certainly there was plenty of fizz in their driving this afternoon. Perfect weather conditions here. Bit of a stop-start race. We had a few incidents. We had a couple of safety cars, but great racing all the way. And now the drivers, of course, asked up for the top three photographs. And there's Sarah Winkhaus, who's the presenter down there, waiting to do more interviews and wrap up the first of the 2 legs of the ADAC GT Masters action here at the Red Bull Ring. And the fans staying in the grandstand. Plenty of more racing this afternoon. They've got a further 4 races to enjoy. TCR Germany, the car's already down on the grid. Then there'll be Porsche Carrera Cup. GT4 European Series, another 50-minute race, and then the first of 3 races for the ADAC Formula 4. So plenty of racing, the stars of today and also, of course, the stars of tomorrow.